All right, welcome to RESTful APIs, how to use APIs to manage SBCs, our 31st monthly webinar covering technical, business, and partner topics to help service providers and enterprises build better voice networks. Managing multiple SBCs across a complex network requires provisioning, coordination of routing plans, performance monitoring, and much more from a centralized network operations center. In this session, we take a look at using RESTful APIs as a means to manage SBCs, automating provisioning, configuration, diagnostics, and other functions. We'll also share stories from two ProSBC customers that have used RESTful APIs to manage their network configuration, making adding new subscribers easier and reducing the risk of fraud. All right, so let's move on to a couple of introductions. I'm Alan Percy. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for TelcoBridges and today's event moderator. And joining us again is Luke Morissette. He's our Director of Customer Support, and he's joining us from his home office just outside Montreal. And Luke, thanks for joining us again.
Correct. Hello, everyone.
Yep. Wonderful. And also joining us today is Pierre-Baptiste Bichou. He is the Director of Platforms and Infrastructure at Aircall, and he's based in Paris. And thanks, Pierre, for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me there today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Glad to have you both. All right, just a peek at the agenda. We've already covered the introductions. And we're going to jump right in starting with a case study, looking at APIs in the wild with Aircall, and give Pierre-Baptiste a chance to share his story and how he's using APIs. And then we'll dig into how the RESTful APIs operate and how they work with ProSBC. And then we'll wrap up with another case study, which is Fusion Networks, and then we'll move on to your questions and all. And we hope to get this all done in 45 minutes or so we can answer your questions and go from there. All right, so Pierre-Baptiste, you're on deck here. So wanted to start with introducing us to Aircall and tell us a little bit about the company.
Thank you, Alan, for the intro. So Aircall, let me give you the elevator pitch, I would say. So it's a cloud-based phone system for companies. We allow our customers to buy phone numbers in more than 80 countries around the world and to make and receive calls through applications. Through these applications available on all platforms, Mac, Windows, the web browser Chrome, iOS, and Android, they can collaborate on calls, transfer, assign, tag, take notes, and most importantly, they can transfer the data back and forth to the tools they are already using, like Salesforce, HubSpot, many help desk and CRMs. So we started to build this product and this company 7 years ago now. And we are with quite some success with around 60K users, 5K customers as companies. And we are now around 350 employees based in 2 offices, main technological one in Paris and sales one in New York.
That's great. And congratulations too on that Series C funding. $65 million will go a long ways, I'm sure, to helping to grow the business.
The main opportunity there would be to open up to the Asian markets.
Right. So, which takes us to the challenges. We had talked in advance that you had a handful of challenges when you were originally designing your platform, and it would be great if you could share those.
Yeah, so for us, one of the growing challenges we had since the beginning was two things, mostly around call quality and reliability. And in order to do that in all geographies, I would say, we address the worldwide market, we had to find local partners in each of these areas. So in order to find this local partner, we needed to interconnect with them, and that's where we needed to find a solution to do it quickly and efficiently in order to keep, as I say, the 2 main challenges for us, call quality and reliability all over the world.
Right. And as part of that, of course, was you wanted to be 100% cloud-based, and you had committed to use AWS as part of your platform choice, right?
Yeah, since the beginning, we are working with AWS. So for us, it was a no-brainer that the solution has to be cloud ready from day one.
Right. And I think also one of the things you noted was that you wanted to be, automate the process as much as possible so that you could quickly spin up new regions, new geographies without physically going out there or manually doing it.
Yeah, that was I was suggesting by quick and efficient. For us, it's we are fond of automation everywhere, from everything that's related to infrastructure or software. So the solution has to, for first challenge we wanted to address was also related to this part.
Got it. Good. Okay, let's talk about your solution then. And I love the way that you've put together this. So let's get to it.
Yeah, so mainly we discovered the product ProSBC around 2 years and a half ago, and we started using it and benchmarking it. We used since the beginning the AWS deployment of it through the AMI that was provided by TelcoBridges there, and so we started by deploying one manually, and we quickly needed to automate, as I said earlier, in order to be quick and efficient in the deployment and interconnection of ProSBC. We needed to use the API provided by the product. So that's through this API, we are doing everything from provisioning, configuring, adding some routes, removing some routes, and handling also multiple environments, because we have, of course, testing environments and also production environments, and we don't want the same routing on each of these ones. Also, one part what was really important for us in the reliability of the calls was really the monitoring of them. So we are also fetching through the API the metrics that comes from the SBCs themselves, and we are pushing them to our own monitoring tools in order to integrate them in our infrastructure monitoring.
That's great. I think one of the other things that for me was quite a surprise also, you use APIs to provision, the AWS platform too, I think you shared with me. Yes,
exactly. So provisioning the ProSBC itself and configuring through the ProSBC API is something that we do since 2 years now.
Right. Yeah, very good. Well, I know as we talked, it made a big difference in your ability to deliver a reliable platform, and you shared some results.
Yeah, so mainly for us, the main results was to ensure, as I said since the beginning, the call quality and reliability for all our customers all over the world. And thanks to this API and provisioning things like this, we have been able to replicate the configuration over multiple geographies. And so we are now able to spin up, I would say, a new SBC, a new interconnection with a carrier in less than an hour, which is for us a great advantage when we need to quickly either scale a specific geography or create a new market, for example. So our also that's also allows us in the future to design tailor-made solution, because we know that we won't spend too much time on configuring the network, but much more on the routings and network strategy with the other providers.
Right. Wonderful. And as I noted on the slide here, I think one of the key things is, your team now is able to focus on other things instead of having to spend a lot of time managing the network infrastructure. It gives you, lets you apply resources to things that really differentiate your business, which is great, which is awesome.
Yeah, we spend most of our time to ensure the call quality and reliability by configuring routes and not network interconnections or basic configurations that are already automated.
Right. Well, congratulations. It's a great story.
Thank you.
We like to ride along with your growth, and we're excited to see everything that happens. So appreciate you sharing that story.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to move on to Luke, and Luke's going to share with us some background on RESTful APIs, and then how to use RESTful APIs with ProSBC. And Luke, I know I put this slide together at the last second. We cleaned up a couple of slides, but it's a quick overview of explaining how RESTful APIs work. And could you just, start from here and let me know when you want me to advance.
Yeah, so here what we have is either, just a user that connects to a web interface, which is what we do usually on these SBC or servers. And you can automate it with an application and script. And that sends HTTP requests in different formats, HTML, JSON. It has different methods, and this will either configure, add resources, change resources, or remove them. So that's the basic of the RESTful API.
And this is a very standard, typical way. And I think, hopefully most of the folks that are listening know exactly what a RESTful API is. But for those that aren't, in a nutshell, this is basically how it works, right?
Yeah, well, RESTful it just means that every time you send a command, you reach the exact information that you want. You're not relying on a previous state of the requests, right? So you always send all the information in one request, and it applies it to the system.
Okay, good. All right. So RESTful APIs in ProSBC.
Yes, so we can access HTTP or HTTPS using HTML to the web interface. So you can go there, configure IP interfaces, new destinations, routing, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. This in turn will send information to the configuration database. And once that is done, you can apply this configuration to the system, to the ProSBC applications that are running on the system. You can do exactly the same with a program. So then you can send some HTTP requests, but this time in JSON format. The web portal will get those information, validate that it is something that is good, apply it to the configuration database, and it can be activated on the ProSBC system.
And this is essentially what Pierre Baptiste just explained, what his organization does.
Absolutely, absolutely. But they use only the programmable version of it.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So one of the advantages, and we saw Pierre Baptiste talk about it, you can send to many systems at the same time. All right. So you can just configure some files. This can be fed manually, or usually it's fed by another system. And then this is read by the program and pushed on all the ProSBCs that need to be updated with this new configuration. So you can have a centralized management system that configures all your network, whether it's wherever it is in the world. Okay. All right, so we talked about some of these already, the reasons to use these APIs. For large number of units, much simpler to use these types of APIs, because you can just configure everything at the same time. Less chance of human error. When you do it programmatically, you have less chance of putting one too many parameter or changing one parameter by mistake. Okay? The changes are of course very rapid. So as soon as you make a change, every system is upgraded at the same time or modified at the same time. It's very fast to do that, and it's integrated, or it can be integrated with your central management system with logging, diagnostics, and you can react to the logs you are getting and reapply a new configuration very quickly.
So what are some of the parameters?
Correct. So all the parameters that we send, it's either using HTTP or HTTPS, and it goes through the web interface. So then you need to have the access to the web interface, the IP, port, user, password. When you use these APIs, they are a JSON format. And the verbs, we saw them already. So get, post, put, and delete. I will explain that in a minute. Then you have collections and resources. Okay, so the collections are defined in the ProSBC, and the resources are the information that you modify in the system. All right. And then you have a list of optional parameters depending on what type of resource you are trying to modify or create. And one example here is a name parameter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so these functions, you see get, post, put, and delete. Right? So get will access a collection. So a collection is something that is defined in the ProSBC. So these parameters are always the same. So it's always configurations, exactly that. So if you do get configuration, you'll get all the possible configurations on the system. You can get also content of one resource of a collection. So for example, get configuration / 2020 SBC. So that will be your this particular configuration. Just a note is that this can be recursive. So when you access this resource, you don't get only that resource, you get all the resources that are attached to this particular configuration. You can create a new resource with post. So then you need to specify a specific resource and collection, and then you will put parameters to allocate that. Well, in this case, it's a route. So you say the route as an incoming network and outgoing network, and you have it here. You can also modify an existing resource with a put. So if you have something that is already configured, you can just say, okay, I'm going to modify one parameter. And of course, you can delete a resource.
Good, good. So I see a quick note here. A question is asking if this, does each SBC have its own set of parameters?
Well, the collections are identical on all the systems, but the resources are specific to your configuration. So you can use the same resource on all the systems, or it could be different. You just need to know when you program the system.
Okay, here's a sample.
Yeah, it's just a sample of, I get on a specific route. It says here a route. And in there, you have a list of parameters, for example, name to public. If there was a call, the regular expression, you will get it here. And then you see incoming network, outgoing network, and all the parameters are there. So you get the structure of that resource. You can modify it and just send it back to the system, and then you will modify that resource.
All right, so configuration files.
Yeah, so we talked about that a bit. So you can have your JSON file pre-set up, and then you pass this configuration file to the ProSBC. ProSBC will just verify if the structure is good. If it's good, it will just reply, okay, I'm ready to apply this configuration. But it can be also just a segment, right? Just one route, just one parameter that you can change. So the JSON file can be very small or just a one-liner and sent to the ProSBC for configuration.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
And then activating.
So, yeah, exactly. So when you send all the data to the system with the JSON file, then the ProSBC will have everything configured in the database, but it's not activated yet. So when you are ready to activate the configuration, you can do a put on the global system of the SBC, and you say which configuration you want to be running at this moment, and it will update the system with the new parameters you have input in the system.
Excellent. Okay. And some tools here.
Yeah, so we have some tools that are built in the system to help you. For example, TB Config is a compiled tool that is available on the ProSBC. We have instructions on how to use this, so you can just do TB Config and pass the RESTful commands you want to do. We have an implementation in Ruby, so you can see an implementation of the RESTful APIs, and the source code is there. You can use it as a Ruby script or modify it as Python or something else that you want to use. There is another tool that was used by some of our customers called Postman. It's an application, and then in there you can create list of HTTP requests, either HTML or JSON. But for us, in a RESTful API, we want to use JSON. We have some instructions on our wiki. The link is there for using that tool.
Cool. All right. Oops, monitoring.
Yeah, so here, that was one question that we received before this, this webinar. To monitor the system, you can do get status, and you get the status of the whole system. And in there, you will find stuff about call rate, the number of calls, and the status of the IP interfaces, and a lot of information. But a lot of time, customers also use SNMP. And with SNMP, you can get the same type of information, but with the SNMP request instead of the RESTful APIs. And with SNMP, you can also get SNMP traps, so you will be informed. So you have the choice, either go with the RESTful API with a get status, or go with the SNMP monitoring tool.
Very good. All right, then updating.
Yeah, and that was a question we received as well. Can we update files? Okay, so when we use some routing scripts in the system, you can import custom files or digit map files, which has information about what you want to do. And it is possible with the RESTful API to update those files. So for example, you can do a get or a put. The commands are down there. And if you do a get on a CSV file, you will get all the digit map information. If you do a put, this is the example here, content, called, calling, route set, and information. This will be put in the system. So you can update also files with the RESTful API.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Luc. That was great content. Stick around for some questions. I'm sure there'll be more. I see that a couple others have trickled in here. I want to share the second story. The folks at Fusion Networks shared their story. We invited them to attend. Unfortunately, because of travel, they weren't able to make it. But Gabriel Mangieri offered this great story, which is about their use of ProSBC in their network. And first of all, the company is a full-service hosted IPPBX and SIP trunking internet provider based in the New York metro area, and they service a number of customers in the Eastern Seaboard, up and down the Eastern Seaboard, from Virginia up through New England. They were founded in 2015, and they've got 3 data centers. 2 of them in New York. One is a backup DR site, and a third one down in Virginia. Providing services to their customers. And they're a VMware-based shop, and they've hosted all their SBCs on VMware. One of the big challenges that they were suffering with was, as their business grew, they had built their business based on an open source platform using Asterisk. And they started to run out of capacity, performance limitations. They started to hurt voice quality. And one of the areas they started to run into trouble with was fax reliability. They've got a lot of customers in the financial and healthcare services market, and the reliability of fax is really important to them and to their customers. And that started to become a serious issue. And what he shared with me, he said that's all their support issues spent their time dealing with is these fax issues. Also, too, as they add new customers, they have to augment the call routing tables. And they, as a customer adds new DIDs or drops DIDs, they have to make changes to the configurations, not only of one SBC, but also, the backups and other elements in their network. So it was very tedious trying to do it manually. So he put together a solution that would automate this process. And lastly, they also were suffering from some international toll fraud. Those premium rate numbers, callback scams, these kinds of issues were popping up and hurting not only their customers, but also hurting Fusion Networks, because they were losing money on these calls because the customers wouldn't pay for them. So what he came up with is a really interesting dynamic solution. So first of all 3 data centers, he configured it so they have both an access and a peering SBC. The customers get at their application through the access SBC, and he connects out to the wholesale operator through his peering SBC. Each one of those SBCs has a +1 redundant pair for backup. And as I mentioned earlier, as he has to grow and he's adding additional subscribers, he has to make manipulations to this peering database. And so the first thing he did was to automate using APIs with a script to be able to go to the dial plan that's in Asterisk, scoop up the data that he needs, and then automatically apply it to the peering SBC. And what this does then is it makes it much less error prone, right? He can go into Asterisk, add add a configuration for a new subscriber or bundle of subscribers, and it just automatically updates all the SBCs with that new dial plan changes. And that sped things up, made it less error prone, and I guess he had a couple of near disasters with DID updates, and it's been much better since then. The last thing is he had a developer put together an application that captures the radius stream that comes out of ProSBC, which is of course all the call, the call information, calls that were made, calls that are active. And he's built a toll fraud detection application that watches the dialed numbers, and for those numbers that are potentially suspicious, or that the cost of operating those calls is rather high for this customer, or it's out of character for that customer, what he could do is automatically apply a new route rule that if one of those customers were to dial that number accidentally, let's say, or be scammed into dialing one of these bad numbers, he automatically updates the route table for that particular route and redirects it to an IVR session that plays an announcement that tells them that unfortunately long distance calling to this area has been blocked, and to call their op center to if it was a valid call. So this has solved a lot of his fraud problem by automating this whole process, and he this obviously operates 24/7. So it reduces the manual intervention on their system. So really neat solution, using our APIs not only to manage configuration, but also to catch fraud and permanently change these route tables within his databases. So a great story, and I congratulate Gabriel on a really neat project. So I wanted to move on and offer you a couple other pieces of material. Obviously we just did a quick summary of the RESTful API. But we have published all the different training modules that Luke has put together. We've got 13 modules that are on our YouTube channel from recorded live events. There's some how-to tutorials that Luke and I have put together over the last couple of years, how to install, how to configure, how to set up SIP trunking, those kinds of things are all on the YouTube channel. We also have some customer interviews, a few other case studies, our recorded webinars, and some podcasts and other materials. And I'd encourage you to go to youtube.com/TelcoBridges and give us a click on subscribe. And that way, not only you get recordings to the the monthly events, but all the other material as they get updated and pushed out. And lastly, I want to let you know about a live training opportunity we have coming up this fall. We've pinned down Luke, and he's committed to a handful of dates to do live technical training on Zoom. It takes about 16 hours of time, which I know sounds like a lot. We don't do it all at once. We spread it out over a few days, and for the EMEA time zone, we've set up the dates of October 6th and 7th, so it'll be 2 8-hour days. So you have to get your snacks and food together, ready for a little bit of a marathon, but it's very effective. And of course, Luke, you build in breaks, right? There's a little breaks along the way.
Of course.
And then for the Americas, we've got September, and then an APAC. Then we'll be doing for that time zone. We'll be doing later in October, and this gives an opportunity for folks to ask questions, dynamically be involved in the training, fill in some questions, maybe do a little bit of customization of your particular situations for the group. So one of the benefits of taking the live training is you get the completion certificate when you're done, and it's pretty affordable at $100 per person. So I definitely, if you're interested in that, we have it available for purchase on the store at store.telcobridges.com, and would encourage you to sign up if you're going to do a lot more of this kind of work. Did I miss anything else, Luke, on that? I think we got it all right.
Good. We're good.
Yep. And as soon as we get past this pandemic, we'll start back up our live face-to-face training, but that's probably not going to be until next year.
Correct.
All right, so it looks like we're wrapped up with the content. We're going to move over to some Q&A, and let's see. There's one quick question here from Ricky. He asks, "Can they add their own API requests, and/or are all the APIs fixed?"
Yeah, so the RESTful API methods are fixed.
Mm-hmm.
There's the collections that I showed you are fixed, right? So these names are defined in our ProSBC system. So these are fixed, but all the other parameters are open, for creating your own scheme that is meaningful to you. And then when you create resources, well, the parameters are standard, but the information you put in is what you have created.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the parameters are custom to your particular situation, but the basic parameters are set aside.
So it's open, right? It's fully flexible. Yep.
Yeah, so I've got a question for Pierre Baptiste. I'm curious, how long did it take you folks to come up with your API management system, and what was the development effort for your platform?
Good question. I would say a few weeks, 2 or 3, something like that, to have the first version running, I would say. And then from time to time, we do smaller enhancements that cost us a few hours of development, but it's very rare. Once it's set up, it's not something you change a lot, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you need a lot of help from our support group, Pierre Baptiste, or?
No, we used mainly the wiki online to find out the resources and the methods and so on. And they are pretty, I would say, standard. So once you get how it works,
right,
the other ones are similar to each other.
Good. All right, got a question here from Mike. He said he's got 2 live ProSBCs and 1 free SBC that they use for testing. Is the API available on free SBC?
I think not. I'm not absolutely 100% sure, but I think it is not available on the free SBC.
Yeah, so we'd have to double check that. Yeah, I know obviously there's some featured limitations on free SBC, and that might be one of them. So, okay. So let's see. The anonymous attendee asks what's the wiki URL where they can go find more information of get commands?
Right. So these commands for each in the configuration on the wiki, you have the configuration of all the stuff you can configure on the system. And in there, at some point, it says northbound interface. Okay, if you click on northbound interface, you will see everything that you can configure with the RESTful API. It may not be available on the 3.1 version configuration information, but it's there maybe on the one before. Okay, so you can see all of it there. We can send you the link if we know where to send this to anonymous.
Yeah, well, how about we do this? How about we include that link in the follow-up email that we'll put together this afternoon?
Idea.
How about that?
Good idea.
Yeah, where to find more information, including what all our parameters. So, good. Excellent. Okay. Well, it looks like that's it for the questions, unless someone wants to slip one last question in here. I'll start out thanking our presenters. We'll start with Pierre Baptiste. I really appreciate you spending some time with us and sharing your story. It's a great story. I think you guys are building a heck of a business, and we congratulate you on what you've been able to accomplish.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yep. And also, Luke, once again, you can pull out your frequent flyer card and you can punch in for another successful webinar. So thanks again for sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
Yep. And I want to thank all of you, listeners and attendees. That's why we do this every month. We put together all this work and put together the content is for you folks. And so thanks for listening. And once again, I want to remind you, when you get that recording link at the end of the day here tomorrow, do forward it along to others that might find it interesting, and feel free to find us on YouTube and give us a subscribe. We're very, very close to hitting a milestone on the subscriptions. It lets us do some things on YouTube that we desperately want to do, and we could use the subscribers. So with that, I'm going to say thanks everyone, and that's it from here.